Hello folks, I just wanted to make a quick video to explain and touch upon the fact that you haven't heard much from me of late. Now that would be because there has been a few changes to my technical setup. Before I was using a Sony Mini DV to record all of my videos. It had a terrible tape head error. It stopped being able to record footage for me. So what I did was I've been borrowing my friend's camera. It's a definite downgrade, but it's also a mini DV. You can definitely see it's a downgrade, and I managed to produce a few things on that. Now, whenever I was producing anything, I always had to upload via FireWire, because of course mini DVs you can't upload via USB. There's a lot of data loss because they don't upload as fast as a FireWire. My computer didn't have a FireWire on it, so I had to keep going over to my friend Andy's place, using his FireWire, and then going all through the process of uploading it there at his house and managing to try and schedule it to see if I can do that. Even though he only lives like, say, a minute or two's walk away, it doesn't matter because he's very unreliable and it makes things difficult for trying to get anything done. And then I had to bring it all back on a card, and in some cases unzip it if it was really, really big, and then finally open it up onto my computer, and then finally start editing it. So there's a whole rigmarole just for every video I'd ever try and put out, except Their Fated Travels, which was just recorded straight into the editing software. Now that was Sony Vegas 9, Sony Vegas Pro. Now I got to a point where I was pretty comfortable with Sony Vegas and that editing software. Then I realised, well look, I'm going to have to just buy a new camera. So I went out and had a bit of a look around, and I realised that my major problem was going to be that, well, I can't get a mini DV one really now because they don't sell them. So it's a case of getting a hard drive or SD card camera. That's actually like what the BBC are now using, you know, SD cards. The computer I had, the one with Vegas on it, was a dual core. So it was quite old really. It wasn't that great. It's like 2 gig of RAM, and I'm running XP on the thing still. Because, well, you know, XP was all I needed. Those cameras very often create AVCHD files or the like, and because of that, you can't edit on them. The dual-core processor can't handle them. There's just not enough of the good stuff. I had to look into getting a new computer, and, well, what I did was, in the end, was get a Mac. So it's a MacBook Pro. And this was a considerable expenditure of money, which affected my ability to, therefore, get a camera. So I'm trying to keep my series going, but I've been having to use the mini DV, the rubbishy one of my friend, and trying to direct upload into the Mac. Of course I had to get the right FireWire input to be able to direct input. Now then I encountered another problem. Sony Vegas 9, or well, Sony Vegas generally, does not work on a Mac. And it's of course the editing software that I'm really used to, I'm comfortable with. I can work fast, I can knock stuff out quickly. Everything I've ever done, Vegas. Everything you've ever seen me do on YouTube, Vegas. iMovie, which comes free with a Mac, that not make me a happy man. iMovie is annoying. It's very limited because I'm still able to record somewhat and via the camera in the laptop, which is what I'm speaking to you now on. I was going to need to try and get the editing in place first. Especially given the fact that before I buy a camera, I need to make sure that it is compatible with whatever editing software I get. Now I say this because the editing software I ended up buying was Final Cut Pro X. It's a revolution, but it's caused a stir as well. I will say that it's completely different architecture. It uses 64-bit architecture now to work with, and so that just generally meant that the files from Final Cut 7 wouldn't even import and work in 10, you see, because it's a completely different technology. And it does things in a completely radically different way. Now, it's a new release. It's quite cheap, so it's consumer friendly. Trying to use it to get the most out of it, I've been encountering quite a number of problems. I've had problems where its reliability, it's been a bit crashy at times. I get the little rainbow wheel that is continuous in some situations, and its background rendering has let me down on a few occasions where I've pushed it too hard, basically, and it's supposed to not get problems. It's supposed to render in the background and let you keep working. Well, guess what? I've overcome that and broken it before. Generally trying to get used to this software. Yes, it's better than iMovie, so I'm glad I got it, even though it's quite similar to iMovie in many respects. Now, for my needs as a YouTuber, Final Cut Pro 10 does seem to be the right sort of editing software, but it's a whole new way of editing. And of course, if you want to compress to whatever file types you like, because the compression formats are extremely limited, then you have to spend another £35 and get compressor. Then Motion 5 is going to cost you another £35. And a lot of these things, they show like they're available in the menu, and then you go to use them, and it says, oh no, you actually have to buy a compressor to do this, just to be able to do what it should be able to do anyway. My God, you know, just compress into things that Vegas could already do. And I've got to get my head around a whole new way of editing. I've been doing a lot of research and trying to work out how this works. And I'm not the most tech savvy of people. I know that I've used quite a few good effects and things like that, but really, I mean, I've just thrown myself at it bullheaded and tried to work it out. And computers, let me just tell you now, they never speak my language. I don't understand them, they don't understand me. If I was a computer programmer, I'd write them to speak in a way that I think. When I saw the videos about it, they were saying, well, okay, Final Cut 10 is great because it does background rendering. The rendering's really fast. You don't have to apply an effect and then go off and make a cup of tea and come back just so you can start working on your video again. What? What madness is this? Or have you know that when I was using Sony Vegas, I never had this problem. I would drag a piece of text over it, over the layer above it, and it would be there. I wouldn't see like a rendering process or anything like that have to happen. And that rendering is called crashing, let me just remind you. This brilliant background rendering, I wouldn't see all of that. Yes, it would render for ages at the end. When you've completed your Vegas file and you want to turn it into a whatever, like a WMV, AVI, or whatever floats your boat. In my case, it was those really low spec type of videos because it was mini DVs I was using, YouTube ready. And then it would render for ages. But yeah, it's better to do it then, isn't it? That this is terribly slowed me down, and I'm having to take some time to familiarise myself with how the thing works and try to get some ideas in mind. Now, we are just about to start a roleplay session as well of Dark Heresy, so I'm trying to get some videos done for coverage of that, but you know, I'll put out videos as and where I can, really. I've got some other plans in mind. Bear in mind that I do a lot of other projects anyway. I mean, I have still kept busy. Not with things necessarily on this channel, but I do have 2 other channels, you know. I've got the Curious World of Pete, so I'll show you that here. It's just a channel about my friend Pete, who is quite an unusual guy. Currently there's 2 videos on there of him gaming and getting very, very angry, kind of rage quit style. So I thought I'd point a camera at him and catch it, because it's he goes a bit above the norm, especially when he's on the Fosters. 2 very, very funny videos, him going crazy playing Portal and him going crazy playing Splosion Man. And I do another channel as well, which you can see over there, and that one is called Does Andy Know? So it's my friend Andy that I spoke to you about with a Firewire computer. Okay, how to best explain this? You know how Ricky Gervais has Carl Pilkington, yeah? Well, I have Andy, yeah. Now, that's not to say that it's really similar, because he's his own person. It's not really even the same concept. But the whole concept of looking at somebody to try and figure out how daft and ignorant they actually are, well, that's kind of the series I do. So if that appeals to you, to see a comedy in that way, it's an unfortunate comedy. There is humour in there, but rather incidental, unfortunate humour. It's more of a documentary insight into him, but he makes it funny because of the things he doesn't know, really. And it's, you just hold your head and shake it woefully and say, oh, God, no. What? He's talking about things that he should know about, like Disney characters and cartoons and things like that, or fairy tales and stuff that, you know, you take for granted. You grew up as a kid, you were told the stories, you learnt the stories, you knew the stories, right? How much of this has he retained into his adult life? Was it even worth him having it at the time, yeah? Learning it. This is somebody with a massive gap in their knowledge, and that gap, he tries to fill it with his own shit, basically, and it's quite funny to see what crap he tries to fill that gap with. So yes, I mean, I have been busy, and I've been putting them out at least once a week, sometimes 2 times a week. In those cases, Curious World of Pete, well, that's an as and when Pete will let me have enough footage to make another one. That's the update for what is going on with me. Why you haven't seen a great deal of me of late. But don't worry, I am not finished. In fact, I'm just starting. All of this is a deep, long-term investment into my video making career. A lot of the videos I've been trying to recreate in Final Cut Pro X, straight away, another annoying thing is the fact that the fonts that I use aren't there. So, for example, in Does Andy Know, I use the Andy font to create the titles. Yeah. Is the Andy font in this? No. They've got something called Chalkboard, and that was the concept of making Does Andy Know anyway, the font there to have it be like that, but the closest thing I found was Andy, and that's the one I wanted, and that's the one that makes the show look like the show. And they don't have the Andy font. Plus, it's called Andy. I had to use it, didn't I? The font for all the videos I was doing on the Dark Heresy series used Centaur font, yeah? Well, that font doesn't exist on Final Cut either. So that was helpful, wasn't it? So I had to pick a whole new thing. Okay, it looks really, really pretty, and it's a new title series that you're going to see on that. Then we've got the other font that I used for in-video text for a lot of my videos, like the gaming talk and stuff like that, and a lot of my me on screen talking about things videos, and that was Berlin Sans. Well, they don't have that either. So I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there, okay? And the technology is improving, and I'm looking to get a new camera, but not all cameras work with Final Cut Pro X. It was best to have the editing software first so that I could take some demonstration files from a camera from a shop onto a memory card, take them home with me, and try and chuck them into Final Cut Pro X and see if Final Cut says, yes, I like these, or, I'm sorry, what are you asking me to read? That's gibberish. And of course, if it's the latter, then I can't buy that camera, can I? And they have a list of cameras that they know officially to work with them on their site, and believe me, that list is woefully short and noticeably expensive top-range cameras. Not very helpful, that, thanks. I've had to try and buy things like this, of course. Make the most of your Mac. 224 pages, don't I know it, of stuff. Just all sorts of stuff to familiarise yourself. Because this is my first Mac. This is new to me. So I'm trying to keep myself ticking. I'm trying to keep content coming out, and that's coming soon. In the meantime, I'll be watching all of your content and looking forward to what you're doing. Take care for now, and peace off.